All right. Hello, and welcome to today's video where we're going to be talking about how to help the world without going into shame or self-blame or victim mentality in our own selves, or without going into savior mentality, without going into saviorism, without going into I'm going to save the world and all of these things. Because I feel like both of these kind of states where we're just completely overwhelmed by the struggle and the pain and all the stuff that we see going on in the world, that it drowns us in our sorrow, or where we are making it so personal and feeling like we're failing and feeling like we're never doing good enough and feeling like every time we try to help, we don't help the way we think we should, and it becomes a self-esteem issue. We're really blocking ourselves from being able to help in the ways that we can. And same thing on the other side. When we're in savior mentality, when we're in I'm going to fix this, I'm going to swoop in, I'm the be all end all, I'm going to save this, or I have the best ideas and I know what's right and all of these things, we're on both sides of these spectrums. The like I'm helpless, I'm hopeless, this is affecting me too much. We're ineffective at helping make the world a better place. And when we're in savior mentality, and when we're in over assuming our role, when we're over assuming our power, when we're over assuming our wisdom, when we're over assuming our knowledge, we're also not helping to create the change that we want to create. So in this talk, my intention is to give a basic framework for how to work with that desire we all have to make this world more equitable, to make this world a better place for everyone in it. And again, this is not the be-all end-all. This is not all of the answers. This is not everything you'll ever need to know, but I hope that it can give some basic principles, some basic foundations for you to work with in your advocacy work. And we're going to kind of split this into two sections. So the first half, I'm going to be talking about how to approach advocacy, looking to help improve the world from the position of looking at injustice and looking at systems that do not directly impact you, that are not a part of your direct experience. So for example, looking to advocate for the LGBTQ community when you yourself are not a part of that community, when you're a cisgendered heterosexual person, or looking to support those who are in the BIPOC community when you are not a part of the BIPOC community. So I understand that, of course, to a degree, everything affects us. What's going on with a different community affects what's going on with us. What's going on with us affects other communities. And it's not to say that there's like this dividing line of things that affect me and things that don't affect me. We're going to say the dividing line is communities you are a part of, right? The injustice happening to the people that you do have an identity that you share with, and the people that you do not share that identity with them. Okay, there is a separation that we can make there. So the first half, I'm going to be talking about how to work with the injustice you're seeing in people groups and animal groups and the environment or whatever that do not directly impact your life, that you are not sharing an experience with those people. They are having an experience that is different from your own, and you want to support them in their liberation. And then the second half, I'm going to talk about advocacy and what that can look like for the groups that you are a part of. Okay, so when you're advocating for neurodiversity because you are a neurodiverse person, when you're advocating for LGBTQ plus rights because you are a part of that community, there's a difference in how we're going to approach ourselves and approach our activism when we are directly a part of the community and when we are not. Okay, so this first half, I'm going to be talking about how do we effectively, from a baseline, have a base structure framework for advocating for people groups who are being oppressed who do not have equal rights, who do not have equal access, who do not have equitable situations for a plethora of complex reasons that we are not a part of. Okay, that we are not a part of that community. We are not being directly affected by that experience. We don't have that experience, and we want to help support the liberation of those people. Okay, so the first and most important thing, the biggest foundational important piece, is that we have to have our foundations of our self-love going into this work. Because if we go into this work without our foundations of being able to take care of ourselves, without being able to nourish ourselves, without being able to support ourselves, and not needing the people we're trying to help to validate us, to see us, to like us, accept us, be approving of us in any of these ways, things are going to get messy. Okay? The most important thing you can have when you're doing your advocacy work for especially groups of people that you are not a part of is to have your foundations of self-love first. Because the very first point that I want to make when we're advocating for groups that we are not a part of is that, okay, so again, remember, the biggest pitfall that we find when we're looking to support the liberation of any group of people or animals or the environment or whatever it is that we care about is that we get caught in traps, again, of feeling like we are inadequate, that we suck, right? Our self-esteem gets pulled into it because we're going to make mistakes, we're going to do things wrong, we're not going to know, we're going to cause harm when we didn't intend to, we're going to get called out and it's not going to be pretty, we're going to be facing a whole bunch of raw emotional experience on behalf of the people who are being oppressed, and we need to be strong enough to hold space for all of that, to be able to take criticism and feedback and to be able to just do something about it instead of turning it in on ourselves. And we are not helping anyone by being overwhelmed. We are not helping anyone by drowning in our own emotion and all of these things. So the first things first is like, it is beautiful and lovely and wonderful that you have empathy and that your emotions are a part of this, because of course you're a human being, okay? We have to have compassion for that. You're not going to go into your advocacy work and see a whole bunch of injustice and see a whole bunch of pain and a whole bunch of suffering and a whole bunch of all of this very raw human emotion and very raw animal emotion and very raw just the inequality and the torture and the torment and the tragedies that are happening and the injustices and the violence and all this, and have no emotional reaction to it. That's not a reasonable expectation. What is a reasonable expectation is that we need to have enough self-love and enough self-care practices and enough self-support that we can process our emotions, that we have a safe place to do that, that we know how to do that, that we know how to take ourselves out when we're down and we need some time, that we know how to take breaks, that we know how to admit where our limits are. Because when we don't have that, we are going to burn ourselves out. We are going to then burden the people we're trying to help. Okay? And it's better to be exhausted and just take yourself out than to stay in and now everyone has to drag you, kind of thing. Like, having your foundations of self-love, having your foundations of being able to validate yourself, to regulate yourself, to process, to have people you process with who are also not a part of the community you're trying to help. So not asking the community you're trying to help you process your stuff as you're trying to help them. These are all boundaries we need to be able to set for ourselves if we want to be effective advocates. And we need to understand, we need to be very real that we are humans. We are going to have human emotion. We are going to have human reaction. We're going to be weak sometimes. We're going to fall apart. We're not going to have what it takes and all of these things. We need to make room for that reality, not expect ourselves to be superhuman beings who never have, like I say, sadness or weakness or fall apart or any of these things. And we make a plan for that, okay? And that's where our self-love work comes in. That's where the checking in with ourselves, Do I have what it takes right now? Can I keep going? Do I need a break? Do I need to process? Can I take myself out? Are the emotions overwhelming me? All of these things. Because again, step one in advocating for a group that you're not a part of is to fully hard line. Okay? This is the most important thing. We make a hard line that this is not about your personal growth. This is not about you becoming a better person. This is not about how it makes you look. This is not about how it makes people perceive you. This is not about you. And that can be the hardest thing, because I know it, of course, your advocacy work is probably going to make you a better person. It's probably going to make you more empathetic, more aware of how the world works, more effective in, yeah, sure. But that is not why you are doing it. Okay? Before you even get started, the point of why you're doing this is because you want liberation for that group of beings that you're looking to support. That's it. That's the goal. When we set the goal for what the goal actually is, we will have a much easier time dealing with all the emotional stuff that comes up. It is not about you. It is not about how it impacts you. It's not about how it makes you look. It's not about your personal growth journey. It's not about your ascendance. It is about the group of people, the group of animals, the environment, having rights and freedoms to live their lives. That is the point. Okay? So we need to be so hardline about this. It is not about my personal growth. It's not about me being a good or a bad person. It's not about how people view me. This isn't about my self-esteem. This isn't about building my self-esteem. This isn't about challenging my self-esteem. This is not about my self-esteem. I am not the center of this. I am a support. Okay? So when we can do that, again, we will say, okay, I will take care of myself. I will take care of myself. I will do what it takes to support myself. I have my self-love work. I have my self-love support. I have the rest of my life where I take care of myself and I am the center of my own movie and all of these things, so that when I'm in my advocacy work, I can center the people, the things, the impact that needs to be had. It's not about me. It's not about my self-esteem. It's not about how it makes me feel. I will process my feelings. I will do all of that stuff outside of my advocacy, outside of my work with the people who are suffering, outside of my work with the people and groups that I'm looking to support. This is not the time for my stuff to be a part of it. It's not. Okay? You have your time. You have your self-love. You process. Every time you do your advocacy work, you go home, you cry, you have your emotions, you do your thing, you process, so that when you're showing up for your advocacy work, you're showing up fully for the advocacy work. Okay? It is not about you. When you are doing the work, it's not about you. It's just not about you. And as hard as that can be in the moment, it's incredibly liberating. This is mostly how we get out of that feeling of feeling like shit, like we're never doing enough and we're not good enough and we suck, or that it's all on my shoulders and I have to do everything, savior mentality. It's like, no, it is not about me. It is not about me. It's not about me being good or bad. It's not about me being good enough. It's not about my self-esteem. It's not me proving my worth as a human being. It's nothing like this. The point is, I want to see these people. I want to see this group of animals. I want to see the environment free. That's why I'm doing it. You're doing it because you want liberation for the group of people you're advocating for, the group of animals you're doing your advocacy for. Center the goal. Liberation. Not you. Do your self-love work. All that stuff on the side. Focus on the goal. Okay? When we center the goal, liberation, everything else gets a lot clearer. So that's step one. It's not about you, it's not about your journey. It's about the goal of liberation and being the best support for that you possibly can be. Okay. Number two, whomever you're showing up for, this is so important, has been fighting a battle that you likely know nothing about, that has been harder than you could ever imagine, for longer than you could ever know. They are not weak. They are not helpless. You are not there to save them. What they are up against is the problem. Okay? So being very, 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 very mindful of looking down on people, animals, the environment, of seeing their struggle as a sign of their weakness, because it isn't. We need to recognize that groups of people, groups of individuals, groups of animals, whatever, are not weak for being in the positions that they're in. Most of the time, they have fought harder and done better with the conditions they've been given than we will ever understand. The reason that they're still in poverty or struggling or not having what they need is not because of their weakness, but because of the systems of injustice they are facing. So we need to really approach this, always approach the group that you're looking at to help support in liberation as whatever struggle they're facing is they've been fighting really hard. And they've been very, very strong. And they are very, very strong. And they are not, again, in need of you saving them. They are not weak, looking for a rescuer. They have been fighting against a system of inequality, of inequity, of oppression, of violence, of whatever it is they've been facing for a very long time. And they are doing phenomenally well given the conditions that they're in. And being that we are people who understand self-love and understand this in the context of ourselves, where we see coping mechanism, where we see addiction, where we see seeming self-sabotage, and the world writes them off as like, well, if they really wanted liberation, they'd try a little bit harder. Parental mind needs to heal. Exactly this. Like, we are not there to be parents. We are not there to be guardians. We are not there to be saviors. We are there to be, I see the structures and systems you're up against, and let me help you dismantle them so that you have a fair chance, so that you don't have to fight so hard, so that you don't have to be so strong and still get shitty results. That's what we're looking at. It's the shitty results that they're getting are not a result of their weakness. It's a result of the shitty structures. We always have to look at it like that. Like, I often hear people who are animal advocates be like, I'm a voice on behalf of the voiceless. I'm speaking from, I'm being strong for the animals who are weak. And I'm like, what animals are weak? What are you talking? Okay, what animal doesn't cry out when they're being hurt? What animal can't, like, bite your hand off? Like, animals are very strong. I don't know if you've ever been around a cow. I don't know if you've ever been around a pig. I don't even know if you've been around a chicken. Like, I'm afraid of animals because they are very strong and they could easily hurt you. It is not that they are captive and being tortured and killed because they are weak. It's because we've learned how to exploit their weakness, right? And we've learned how to control their strength and disarm their strength in a way that serves us. But animals are not weak. So to look at animals and say, like, I'm here to be strong for the animals, it's like, no. You're here to dismantle the system that's literally handicapping their strength. They fight for themselves. We just have things that are stronger than them. And that's what needs to change. So we look at it like all of this. Nobody is just inherently weak. Nobody is inherently weak. Nobody is inherently just choosing to sabotage themselves, choosing to be addicted, choosing to cope with this situation that they're in. We need to understand that, again, where we're seeing that kind of thing, we're seeing trauma. We're seeing they have been shown over and over and over again that trying anything else doesn't work, that there's no point, that they could do all the great self-healing, self-love work they want. They could go try and get to school or whatever it is, and it's not going to matter because the system is set up so much against them. So again, when we go in, we never, ever, ever want to say these people are weak or I'm above them or they're below me or any of these things. They are not. Okay? They are absolutely powerful. They've been fighting a battle that you know nothing of. They are probably much stronger than you'll ever know. And we need to, again, look at the systems that are affecting them and how do we dismantle those systems. Not how do I help this weak person? How do I help these weak people? How do I... No, but they're not weak. They're not weak, and we don't look at them as weak. We look at them as very strong, and we look at whatever they're going through as being the systems that need to be reworked. Okay? So that's point number 2. Point number 3, get educated. Okay? I understand that absolutely everything feels urgent. It feels like we start to look at the poverty, the injustice, the racial injustice, all the forms of injustice we're seeing. We're seeing everything that's falling apart. We're seeing the world, and it's so hard not to just be like, I have to do something right now. I have to fix it right now. I have to get in there right now. And if I'm not taking action, if I'm not doing stuff right now, I'm not helping and I'm not doing good enough and all of this stuff. And I get it. Okay? I've been there. That makes perfect sense. It looks like the world is on fire. But with things that are systemic, we have to understand that these systemic injustices, these systemic violent things, these things that we're facing in our world, none of this is new. None of this just happened, right? None of this is just, we were all going along and everything was fine, and then all of a sudden, all of this racism. It's like, these things are systemic. These things have been going on for a very, very long time. They have history, there's complexity, there's nuance. So if we really want to be a help, if we really actually want to be of service, we will do everyone a favor and get educated. Get some education first. There are people out there who know more about this than you do, who have studied this longer than you, who have a better idea of what's going on and what needs to be changed and what needs to be done and what are actual effective things to do, that have more understanding than you do. And it is worth the time. It is worth your energy. It is worth the investment to get a grounding on what the history is a little bit of whatever you're looking at, what the structure is, what the complexity is, what the nuance is, so that when you go out to do stuff, you can know you're not just working from your visceral, this is what I think we should do, based on usually very little information. Okay? What you're seeing is probably a very small piece of what's going on, and there are people out there who have made their lives about studying these issues, studying what actually does and does not work, and have educated themselves and are now creating resources for people just like you who want to help and who want to help effectively. So find those people, pay for their services, share their stuff on Instagram, help boost them in the algorithm, take what they have to offer when they are offering it in a way that they're offering it, and pay them for that in some way. Okay? Be equitable in how you get educated. Do not ask people who are part of the group you're trying to help to educate you when they're not the ones offering the education. There are always people you can find who are explicitly offering that education, who are offering a service, who are writing books, writing courses, putting out free content on the internet on purpose. And you can tell this is their job, this is the thing that they're doing. Versus the people who are just part of that group and you're in their DMs asking them what to do. That is not okay. Okay? Find the people who are specifically saying, I am here to educate. This is how you can pay me for my service. This is the information I'm offering. This is the way that I'm offering it. And then you decide for yourself how and where you can support the people who are educating, and then take their advice. Okay? Really let yourself off the hook of having to know what to do, of having to have all the answers, of having to figure it out. You don't have to figure it out. Guaranteed, someone has figured it out. Guaranteed, people know more than you and can give you action steps and can give you wisdom and can give you pointers in the direction of where to go and how to actually be of service. Take that. Okay? Don't try and figure it out all on your own. Don't ask people who aren't educating to educate you. Do your research. And I know that everyone says that, but this isn't actually that hard these days. Okay? Pick your issue. Go on Instagram. You will literally find hundreds of accounts of people who are specifically doing that work. I guarantee you. Look for other advocates who are doing work and ask, who did you learn from? Who paid? Who did you pay? Who gave you this information? Follow that. Okay? Search it out. Go to the library, or I guess look it up online now. Go to Amazon or whatever. The books. Find YouTube videos. You can find access to information that knows better than you. Do that. Okay? Everyone is worth that. You're worth that so that you're not so stressed, you're not so overwhelmed, you're not so trying to figure it out all on your own. And the people you're looking to support deserve educated supporters. It's just like if you're sick, you don't want someone who has no idea about the human body just coming in and telling you what they think you should do based on their hunch, right? And you wouldn't want that. That would be, you want someone who knows how the body works and who knows something about your specific whatever's going on with you, right? And it's the same thing with any other kind of advocacy. Get some expertise from an expert so that you're at least before you get started, okay? And I know it's going to feel urgent. I know it's going to feel like I have to do something right now. The internet is expecting me to do something right now. Everyone's expecting me to post right now or to do a thing right now. And I get it. But ultimately, it's not about you and how you look. It's not about how people look at you. You want to be effective? Say, okay, I'm going to get a little bit of education before I even try. Because I'm not about to pretend like I know what to do. Okay? That's number 3. Number 4. Don't treat people or animals or any of these things like a monolith. When we are dealing with the structure, right? When we're dealing with, I'm working to dismantle a structure, I'm working to dismantle a thing, I'm doing my advocacy route, I'm protesting, I'm whatever. Yes, I'm here on behalf of this group of people who are all having a relatively similar shared experience, okay? But when we're dealing with individuals, like when we're one-on-one talking with people, when we're interacting with members of the community we're looking to support, we need to first understand that this is an individual I'm looking at. We don't want to project BIPOC onto every person of color we meet. We don't want to project LGBTQ, and this is what I know about your community, onto every LGBTQ plus person we meet. We need to be able to toggle back and forth between I'm working on the system and this is an individual in front of me who might be in a place where they don't want answers. They don't want solutions. They don't want to be told anything. They want to be heard and validated. They want to be able to dump their emotion. They want to be able to process right now. They're feeling traumatized. They're feeling triggered. They're feeling unsafe. And they just need someone to listen. They need someone to tell them it's not their fault. They don't need someone to be like, well, here's what we can do, and here's the answer, and here's how to change it, and all this, right? We need to understand that. And then the other thing too is that not everyone in that group is going to feel the same way about their experience as everyone. They are having an individual experience, and that needs to be respected. Because ultimately, yes, we're all one. We're all connected. We're all this. And we're all having an equally valid individual experience. And no one wants to be written off as you're just a part of that group. This must be how you're feeling. This must be what you're experiencing because you are, right? When we're dealing with individuals, deal with the individual. Show up for the individual that's in front of you with compassion and love and curiosity. Compassion and love and curiosity for who that person is in front of your face right now. Okay? It's so important that we don't monolith the group that we're looking at. That we don't monolith. And that we understand everyone's different, everyone has a different perspective, everyone has a different experience, everyone has different needs at different times. And a lot of the time, being a good advocate is being a good listener, being a good support, being a good validator, being a good, I hear you, your experience is valid, you're right, I love you, I'm here for you, I'm making space for your big emotions, right? And that thing too, of people who are being oppressed and who are experiencing trauma in their lives need to have strong people around them who can hold their emotions. So again, this is where you do your self-love work. Don't ask them to bring their pain to you in a way that's neat and tidy and makes you feel comfortable. That's not fair. And if that's what you need and you can't handle their messy approach, the human, them maybe being very viscerally angry or viscerally sad, or all people are like this and maybe they project onto you and all that stuff is going to happen. And if you can't handle that, it's not the place and time to be like, hey, you need to clean yourself up. You need to whatever. It's to say, okay, I can't handle this. Take yourself out. Just say, look, I love you. I respect you. This is not your problem. I totally validate that what you're going through is real and hard, and I just can't handle it right now. And I'm not going to burden you with my not being able to handle it. Okay? If you can't handle it, be honest. Step out. Find someone else to help them in those emotions. But don't pretend like you're going to be a safe place, or say you're going to be a safe place because you think you're going to be a safe place, and then when it gets scary and messy and hard, tell them they need to change how they're doing things, because that's just not how it works. Sometimes people just need to process, and it's going to be messy, and it's going to be projecting, and it's going to be all over the place, and it's not going to be mature, and it's not going to be all of these things, and that's okay. That's normal. That's part of it. Okay, people need to have a safe space to vent sometimes. And if you can't be that safe place, that's okay. But don't say that you can be. Just be really, really honest that people who have been hurt and harmed and traumatized and all of these things are not going to have their emotions all together and be perfectly all perfect for you so that they don't make you uncomfortable with their pain. And we have to be able to hold that. And where we can't, we need to be able to say, I can't right now, and I will be back later. And don't expect them to trust us. Don't expect them to trust you. You got to earn that. Okay? Be willing to see them as individuals. Be very willing to see people as individuals. Both and. Okay? And number 5, be willing to be corrected. So again, this is where our self-love work comes in. Where our impact doesn't match our intention, we can't go into a ball of self-hate. We can't go into, oh gosh, what does this mean about me? I'm a terrible person, da-da-da-da-da. Because again, in our advocacy group, especially when we're advocating for groups of people that are very much oppressed and in a lot of pain and all of these things, much of the time the correction is not going to come nice. It's not going to be like, oh dear, your impact wasn't what you intended. I know you're a good person. I know you weren't trying to cause harm, but you did, and here's why, and here's just a lovely flower, and please don't be mad, but can you just do it a little bit different? There are going to be times where it's just like someone just chews you out and gets very upset with you and just calls you on your behavior, and there is no compassion in it, and it's just, that was shitty, and I don't care what your intention was. That hurt, because they're already hurting and they're already traumatized and they're already not trusting anyone from the outside to understand their pain, and they already don't trust that you're going to make it better. They already think you're going to make it worse, and then we are going to live up to that sometimes. So when we can love ourselves enough that we can say, okay, I know myself. I know I wasn't trying to hurt. I know my intention was good. I know my intention is good. I fucked up. That's okay. Okay, we all fuck up. We're going to fuck up. Lots. All of us. When we're trying, because this is messy. Okay, there is no straight, clean line for how to create a better, more equitable world. There's no clean way of doing this. There's no non-messy, non-complicated, non-complex way. Right? We all just want to believe that we can just change our insides and just heal our inner traumas, and then the whole world manifests different. And that's just not reality. Okay? It's going to be messy. There's going to be human emotion. There's going to be mistakes. There's going to be things that we do that we think are going to help and then totally make it worse. And that is reality. So we need to be able to love ourselves enough, to know ourselves enough, that we can say, okay, I know what my intention was. I'm being told my impact was different. That doesn't make me a shitty person. That doesn't make me wrong and bad and I should just disappear or kill myself or stop trying or stop showing up, or that I'm the worst. We say, okay, I hear you. I'm sorry. We don't make an excuse. And we learn. We learn. So, right, if the person wants to correct us and give us that this is what you could have done instead, and this would have been more effective, and this would have been more helpful, take it. If they don't feel like doing that for you, again, go back to step number 3. Look for the educator. What did I do wrong there? What happened? What was the problem? Someone will have been talking about what you just did, because you're not that unique, okay? Whatever you just did that was harmful, you can probably find someone who's going to say, okay, and then when you want to do this, here's where this is harmful. Because, like I said, we're humans and we're not that unique. So if you're being called out, if you're being told that your intentions and your impact aren't matching, do your self-love work. You are not a problematic person. You are not horrible. You are not terrible. It's just what you thought was going to help didn't. That is okay. You can change. You can learn. You can do different next time. And that's all that's required. That's what makes a good person a good person. Being willing to learn and change when our impact doesn't match our intention. So, you have that foundation of self-love. You have that foundation of you know where your limits are and you're not going to push past them. Because you don't help the world when you burn yourself out. It is much better for you to be able to moderate your effort so that you can continue to show up over years and years and years and years than to try and go super hard in the beginning, burn out, get exhausted, and then not be able to show up anymore. Okay? It's way more helpful for you to be able to pull back when you need to admit your boundaries where you have them, to admit your limits where you have them, to understand that you are one person, you are not going to change the whole world, it is not up to you. You are going to be a part of the liberation in whatever way you can in any moment. And sometimes that's going to be you're dead and exhausted, you can't do it. Sometimes it's going to be you're just showing up to support and love someone through their trauma expression. Sometimes it's going to be the protest. Sometimes it's going to be monetary giving. Sometimes it's going to be changing the way that you live specifically as a way of checking out of a system. Sometimes it's going to be, right? Like there's so many different ways that we can support systemic change, that if we're getting exhausted in one area, or if we're finding it's not working so much in one area or whatever, there's always something else. There's always a new way. There's always something we can learn and change and grow into and all this stuff. So we have to be able to, like I said, know ourselves, know where we're at, know what we're capable of, and just be willing to embrace that. And if other people tell you that's not enough, and if other people tell you it's not good enough, and if other people tell you all these things, again, to the degree where you're like, okay, is it actually harmful? Am I making a bad impact? Am I not helping? Then change that. But if it's like you're just not doing enough, well, you're doing what you can. Because it's not about you. It's not about how it makes you look. It's not about what other people think of you. It's about, are you having the impact of helping create liberation? That's the point. Continue to come back to that point. So, it's not about you. The people you're helping are not weak, they are strong. They are not coping and addicted and all these things because they just don't want to help themselves. You need to see them as empowered. You operate like they're empowered. And you're looking to dismantle the systems that are systemically disempowering their power and their strength. That's what you're looking at. Okay? Number 3, we get educated. We really allow ourselves to take that time to have someone who knows better than us help us. So that when we're out there doing our work, we can be sure that someone who studied this more than we did has told us what to do. Okay? Number 4, we don't treat people as a monolith. We don't treat ourselves as a monolith. We are willing to be there for the messy, broken, oh my gosh, not all put together, not putting it nice for me, lots of pain, having to look at that. That's going to happen. So take care of yourself so that you can be there for that when that happens, and be willing to be corrected. Okay? So that's for groups that you're not a part of. Now, advocacy for groups that you are a part of. This is a totally different kind of advocacy. Okay? When you are actually being affected by the thing you're trying to change, it is so important. Again, foundation. You are taking care of yourself first. You are taking care of yourself first. You are taking care of yourself first. You destroying yourself on behalf of the cause is almost never the answer. I know people do it. People sacrifice themselves for their cause. I understand that, and in some cases, it seems like that was the only way, and that was the best way, and I'm not telling you not to make that choice. Again, there's no right way to advocate for a thing that's oppressing you. There's no wrong way. It's, you need to decide for yourself what's worth it. And sometimes, like I say, maybe taking care of yourself is sacrificing yourself. But again, I'm not here to tell anyone what they should or shouldn't do when they're advocating for a thing that really matters to them, that is affecting them. But honestly, I would say as much as you can, take care of yourself. Generally speaking, probably sacrifice, this world is probably better with you in it than not. This world is probably better with you in it than not. And unless and until it gets to the point where it's like you really truly believe that to sacrifice yourself is the greatest impact, and that's something you actually really want to do, like that's your inside what feels like right for you, unless and until we get to that point, take care of yourself. It is not your job to educate everybody. It's not your job to solve it for everybody. It's not your job to fix it. Do not advocate in a way that drains you. Be willing to take breaks. Be willing to step back and say, look, this is too hard for me right now. This is too much for me right now. I value myself, and I value my time, and I value my energy, and I'm going to demonstrate what it looks like to value me. Because that's always a part of the anti-liberation people are experiencing, is that there's a systemic devaluation of your life. You don't fit into the model of what we consider to be productive, important, valuable, and therefore you are treated as a second-class, third-class citizen. So you learning to demonstrate, this is what it looks like to value me, even though I'm neurodiverse, even though I'm chronically ill, even though I'm LGBTQ+. This is what it looks like to value me. And as hard as that is, and as unfair, absolutely unfair that you even have to do that, as unfair as it is, you're worth it. You are worth the effort of learning to value yourself, even if you live in a society that doesn't value you. You are worth the effort of learning to value yourself, your boundaries, your limits, what you can and cannot do, even if society doesn't. Please take that to heart. Whatever your perceived limitation or whatever society, it doesn't matter. You are valuable inherently. I don't care what society says about you. I do not care. It's not valid what society says about you unless it is you are inherently valued. Your life matters. You are worthy of having what you need to be able to live a good life. Right? If all of us want to believe that we manifest whatever we want and that we're the creators of our own reality and everything that comes to us is because of us or whatever, we need to create a world where that's actually true. Because right now that isn't true. That's true for some people. There are some people where the amount that you work is the amount that you get. What you put out is what you get back. There are some people where the world works like that for them. And then there are lots and lots and lots and lots of other people where it does not. They are not operating in that system because that system doesn't apply to them. That's reality. We all want to believe we all just manifest whatever we are and whatever we put out we get back. That equal energy exchange, we need to create a world where that's true. Because right now it is not. There are lots and lots and lots and lots of people who are fighting harder than you will ever fight, than some of us will ever know, who are putting in way more effort and will never get the return that we get. They are never going to be reflected back that they're valued because of the way the systems are set up. So if we really want that, we start with ourselves in that we will value ourselves. Right? Like for me, chronically ill, me, neurodiverse, I refuse to shame myself for not being able to do what able-bodied people can do. I will not shame myself for not being able to do what neurotypical people can do. I have limits that society say, that makes you shitty. That makes you less valuable. And I will not. I refuse to accept that label about myself. And I will figure out a way of making it work for me. And I'm lucky that I can do that. There are lots of people who can't. So, again, internally, maybe not externally, will you be able to create a world where you're valued and you're supported. But internally, we always have that choice that we can value ourselves. That we can say, I will not shame myself for this. I will not blame myself for this. I absolutely will not reject myself. I will value myself. I will value my time. I will put boundaries where I reasonably can and still survive. I will honor myself even where people don't. I will respect myself even if people don't. I will not wait for the world to tell me that I'm good enough. I will tell myself I'm good enough. And you will listen to videos like this where I tell you you're good enough. Because you are. You are good enough. No matter what you are like, no matter what you offer society, no matter what you're able or not able to do, it doesn't matter. You are worthy of love, you are worthy of respect, and you are worthy of basic human provision. And that is the world that I want to see. Okay, so really do that, okay? And then again, third thing, focus on your processing work first. Focus on advocacy second, okay? I know we really want to help. We really want to change the system. And we want to advocate and we want to make it different. And that's valuable and that's good and we should and we will. You are going to do it in whatever ways you are capable. You're going to be motivated. You're going to have the energy to do some stuff. But it has to come first from this place of giving from your overflow. Like really, 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 when you're being affected by an injustice, as much as you can, you got to fill yourself up first. Okay, you got to let other people around you support you. You got to let your community support you. You got to let people help you. You got to let yourself rest where you can. You got to get nourished where you can. It's so important. Okay, like basically these are all the same points. I'm making all the same points in several different ways, which is really just before you go into advocacy work about a thing that's affecting you, it's you focus on your healing. You focus on your liberation. You focus on your respect for yourself. You focus on what you have access to right now, which might just be self-love, which might just be these videos, which might just be, right, you might not have a financial capacity to invest in anything right now. That's okay. Get a journal, get a whatever, like do what you can do. Let yourself feel your emotions. Let yourself be upset. Let yourself feel the injustice. Let yourself be angry. Let yourself be sad. Process these emotions. Do not let the spirituality world gaslight you into thinking that feeling bad about a shitty thing is bad or wrong or unspiritual or you're manifesting something bad. That's bullshit. You're human. If you experience injustice, you're going to be upset, and that's valid, and you should be. And you process that, and then it will help you. Okay, so I have lots of free information on my site, in my Instagram, on my YouTube, these videos about how to process, how to support yourself. Like I'm offering as much free content as I possibly can so that everyone has access to this, because I believe that everyone deserves access to this, whether you have capacity or not. And there are lots of other resources out there. I'm not the only one. But support yourself. Love yourself. Be there for yourself. And then do your advocacy. And then do your advocacy. And never, ever, ever let anyone tell you that you're not doing enough. That you're not speaking out enough, that you're not speaking out in the right way, that you're not doing it right, that you're not feeling the way you're supposed to be feeling, or you're... You draw your boundary. You're an individual. You're having an individual experience of this reality. What you can handle is what you can handle. What you want to post about or what you want to say or what you want to do is up to you. Nobody can tell you that you're doing it wrong. Nobody can tell you there's a right way to do it. Don't listen. Again, right? Sometimes we're going to say, okay, look, I really actually want to change this system, and sometimes that requires that we get educated, even about our own thing, about how do we dismantle the systems that are holding me back. And we make room for that, right? I get educated about being neurodiverse. I get educated about chronic illness and all these things and what's effective advocacy and all that stuff when that feels right for me as someone who has these things. I'm not going to be told that I need to be posting about autism every single day, or that I need to show the whole world what's going on with me with my chronic illness. I don't want to do that. And if people who have those things do want to do that, I am 100% celebrating them. That's amazing. Go for it. That's not what feels right for me. I'm not going to shame them for doing something different than I'm doing, And I will not be shamed for doing something different than what they're doing. Your advocacy, when you are a part of it, is up to you. You don't want to advocate? You just want to take care of yourself? Good. You want to be the loudest voice on the stage? Good. You want to be somewhere in between? Good. You decide for yourself. No one can tell you what's right. No one can tell you what's enough. No one can tell you what's too little. Only you can decide that. So again, we come back to this foundation of self-love. We come back to the foundation of self-love. You are not responsible for your community. Be a part of your community. Get support from your community. Offer support from your community when you can. Work for your community. Advocate for your community where it's possible. Do not push yourself to burnout. Everybody doing what they can do is so much more effective than a few people doing way more than they should, burning themselves out. If we all just did what we could do, we would make progress. So just do that. Take care of yourself, value yourself, support yourself. You are worthy. Even if you don't ever advocate, even if you don't ever try to make it different for anyone else, even if you just do what you need to do to survive and get by, that's good enough. Anything else from there is gravy. Miso gravy. Okay? So that's my suggestions for a foundation for advocacy. I hope that was helpful. I hope there's some practical points in there. If you have any questions always, you can leave them for me down below. Compassion is the key. We start with compassion. We start with curiosity. This world is incredibly overwhelming. And just seriously, bless your heart for caring. For the fact that you care, the fact that you get overwhelmed, the fact that you get into savior mentality, it means you care, and that's beautiful. And thank you for caring. Thank you for having empathy. It's so beautiful to see that there are so many people out there who want to make a difference and who see the injustice and who see the pain and want to change it. That's amazing. And let's just have compassion for everyone involved, that this is messy and this is hard and it's all just everyone's traumatized, right? And I've said it before, the people who have created these horrible structures that hurt everybody are traumatized too. I don't believe that anyone is evil. I truly believe we're indoctrinated, and it's not to say that that makes it okay and that they don't have to change, but it's just that I don't believe anyone's evil. I really think we're a humanity that's traumatized and misunderstanding things, and we're feeling the consequences. And some people are feeling them way worse. And so we do want to do what we can do to create equity. Nobody is weak. Nobody is shitty. Nobody is evil. We're all humans making choices based on our histories and what we've been through, and we got to work with what we got. It's going to be messy. It's going to be complicated. It's going to be time, and that's okay. Thank you for caring. Thank you for caring. Thank you for caring. There is no perfect way to do it. Have compassion for yourself. Have compassion for everybody. And be strong where you can be strong, right? Compassion doesn't mean no boundaries. Compassion doesn't mean you don't have to change. Compassion doesn't mean we say, it's fine. That's not what compassion is. Compassion is, okay, I see where you're coming from. I get it. You're not evil, but we can't keep doing this. Things need to change. Yeah? Okay. I hope that's helpful. I hope that's practical. I love you all. Seriously, thank you for being here. Thank you for caring. It's very inspiring to me. And I'll see you in the next video.